Mark. That sounds great. How about I call it in, you pick it up, and we'll picnic in the park before my game starts? Ah, that sounds great. I know a place that's close by and has great tomato sauce. All right, now it's your turn. I want you to use these phrases that you've learned. I'm going to ask you a question, and we're going to have a little conversation together. It's your chance to speak out loud, so I'm going to ask a question and pause. Wait for your answer. No matter where you are around the world, I will be listening to you, so please take this opportunity to speak and use what you've learned. If you need to repeat this section again and again, do that. It's a great way to gain confidence as you speak. Are you ready? Hey, I'm hungry. Let's grab lunch. What are you in the mood for? Oh, that sounds good. Do you know a good place? Oh, that sounds good. Do you want to eat there or get takeout? Great, let's go. Well, how did you do? Do you feel a little more confident discussing dining options and talking about eating out? I hope so. In this lesson, we're going to talk about some common questions to ask about vacations, some common responses, and then you'll have a chance to practice this with me. Are you ready? I know that vacation this year looks a little bit different than most years because of, well, this virus that we have going around. So, it's going to be a little bit different than usual talking about vacation. Let's first talk about some common questions and how to pronounce those naturally in English. Do you have plans to go anywhere this summer? Okay. This question is fine. You could use this full question. Do you have plans to go anywhere this summer? But there are a couple of different ways to either reduce or slightly change this question that are a little bit more natural. For example, where are you going this summer? Where are you going this summer? Dropping the G and going. What you got going on this summer? Dropping the G and linking what you together. It simply means, what are your plans this summer? If someone asks you this, you know that they're asking about your vacation plans. Another common question is, are you doing anything fun for vacation? But we don't often say it as clearly as this. Unfortunately, it becomes, you doing anything fun for vacation? Look at what's happening at the beginning of this question. The "are you" is completely gone. Maybe it's also on vacation. So we're going to start this question with just you, which is reduced to ya. Do you see how we reduce the word you in a lot of ways? For instance, what you got going on? You doing? Dropping the G again? Something interesting happens at the beginning of the word anything. We link doing with anything because we're going to drop the G. The end sound N of doing connects with the beginning sound A of anything. So we say, you do anything fun, or you do anything fun. This is one of the reasons why English sounds quite fast to English learners. If you watch a TV show and say, what in the world did they just say? You might be confused. Well, it's because of these dropping and linking sounds. This is quite common in spoken English, so you can say this question with me. Are you ready? You do anything fun for vacation? Let's go to our next question. Where are you headed for vacation? This question is very clear the way I just said it, but it uses a wonderful verb, headed. This is talking about the direction that you're going or some place that you're going to visit. For example, if you get a call from your mom and she says, "Where are you going?" you could say, "I'm headed to the store." This means that's the direction you're going. But we can reduce this a little bit and say, "Where you headed for vacation?" We could substitute the end of this for vacation and just say, "Where are you headed this summer?" Do you notice that a great way to sound a little bit more fluent in English is to reduce the word you? We've talked about a couple of different reductions, but a very common one is, "Where you headed this summer?" Before we go on to some common answers that you can use to answer these questions, let's talk about something very important. The most important conversation question you will ever know is, "What about you?" or "How about you?" We talked about this in the Part 1 video I made. Speak with me about your weekend plans. These two questions are essential. If you don't remember anything else from this video, please remember, "What about you?" and "How about you?" We use these if you can imagine I'm holding the conversation ball. When I ask you, "How about you?" boom, I pass the ball to you. It is your turn to answer the same question. So, if you ask me, "Where are you headed for vacation?" and I say, "Hey, not really anywhere. I'm staying home," I would then say, "What about you?" I pass the question back to you. This is a great way to continue a conversation, so make sure that you keep that locked inside your memory because we're going to be using that a little bit later in this lesson, where you're going to use these conversation questions and answers to practice speaking with me. All right, let's go to some common answers to talk about our vacations, especially in this world that we're living in this year. Because a lot of us would love to go on vacation and see the world, but we probably needed to change our plans a bit this summer. Let's talk about some realistic answers to these questions about where you're headed this summer or what you got going on for vacation. For example, I'd like to go to Europe, but I think I'll take a road trip around the U.S. instead. This is using a great sentence construction. I'd like to, talking about your dream or ideal, and then, but I think I'll, talking about what you're really doing. I'd like to go to a family reunion, but we had to postpone it. The ideal is going to the family reunion, but the reality is that you had to postpone it or delay it for another time. I wish that I could go on a cruise, but that's not happening right now. So I guess I'll order a pizza and go to the pool here. Again, we're talking about the dream and then making the reality special for you. It doesn't need to be too disappointing. I wish that I could go to a music festival, but it was canceled. So I guess I'll make a playlist and listen to music and dance in my backyard. This year is all about trying to make some kind of compromise, a change in plans that's not too disappointing. I was going to take my family to New York, but I think we'll go camping instead. Using this phrase, "I was going to," talks about a plan that you had, usually a real plan, and then needed to change it. I was going to backpack across Italy, but I guess I'll stay home and learn how to cook some Italian dishes instead. This year is all about trying to make a compromise, a change in plans that's not too disappointing. Okay, now that we have some common questions, don't forget our key questions. How about you? And What about you? And some common answers. Let's take a look at a sample conversation so that you can try to imitate this when it comes to be your turn. Sample conversation. Mark. Hey, you doing anything fun this summer? Lily. Well, I was going to go backpacking around Europe, but instead I think I'll just go camping in some local state parks. What about you? Mark. Well, I was going to meet my family in Florida for a family reunion, but that got canceled. So now I think I'm going to have a socially distanced outdoor movie night in my backyard. Do you want to come? Lily. Sure, that sounds great. Text me the details and I'll be there. Mark. Great, I'll see you around. Enjoy your camping trip. Lily. Thanks, I will. See you at the movie night. Okay, now it's your turn. Put together all of these pieces. I'm going to be asking you a question, then I'm going to be pausing. I don't care where you are living around the world. My ears are going to be listening to you. Then I'll be replying, and I would like you to take this opportunity to speak out loud. If you need to go back and review this section, do it again and again and just gain some more courage. Feel free to do it. This is a wonderful chance to speak out loud. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hey, you doing anything fun this summer? That sounds like fun. Have you done that before? I wish I could take my family on a trip to Switzerland. But with the travel restrictions, I think we're just going to go on a road trip here in the U.S. instead. Yeah, well, it was nice talking with you. See you later. So, how did you do? Do you feel a little bit more comfortable talking about your vacation or summer plans? Feel free to go back and review our practice section together. It's a great way to speak out loud. Okay, let's get started with some common vocabulary to talk about where you live. If you live in a city, you might say, "It's really busy where I live." New York City is a busy place. Or you could use the word crowded. Tokyo is a crowded city. There are lots of people everywhere, and there are not many places where you can be alone and have a quiet moment. Maybe you might say that your city is busy and crowded. What's the opposite of this? You can say, Stockholm, Sweden is a relaxed city. It's a quiet place. I don't know. I've been to Stockholm. If you're from Stockholm, Sweden, let me know. But you might say, where I live is just a relaxed place. Or, we can say it's relaxing if you come visit where I live. It's very relaxing and quiet. Maybe that's because it's in the country. Let's go on to these two common words to talk about the type of place you live. You might say, yeah, I live in Delhi, India, and it's one of the largest urban areas in the world. There are so many people here. It's busy, it's crowded, it's an urban area. This means it's the city. It's quite busy, it's crowded, it's an urban area. There's not many trees, not much nature. But on the other hand, you might say, I live in the country. The word country means United States, France, Japan, these places. But in the U.S., we use this to mean countryside. We do say countryside sometimes, but we're more likely in the U.S. to say, I live in the country. That means in nature. Maybe there are some farms around you, maybe there are forests around you, and you don't live in a busy urban city center. You live in the country. So I wonder for you, Do you live in the country or do you live in an urban city center? Do you live somewhere that's difficult to get to? You might say, yeah, my city is off the beaten path, but it's worth visiting. For me, my city, Asheville, in North Carolina, is definitely off the beaten path. It's not a huge city. It doesn't have a big airport that comes here. It's off the beaten path. But if you want to check out some other local sites in the U.S., it could be nice to visit. It's off the beaten path. This also can be used to talk about locations within a city. So if you visit Paris and you go to the Eiffel Tower and then you get hungry, well, the places that are close to the Eiffel Tower to eat, those are what we call tourist traps. Those places are only for tourists. They're extremely expensive. They're not high quality. It's just to trap tourists. But if you want to eat at a great location, you might go somewhere off the beaten path. This is somewhere that not many other people go to, and it's an expression that's great to use about little secret local locations. So when I visit your city, I might ask, are there any places off the beaten path that I can visit? Are there any restaurants off the beaten path that only locals know about? What is something off the beaten path that I can do? Let's say that where you live is not extremely popular, but it's becoming more popular. Maybe because of the pandemic last year, people are traveling to different types of destinations. Maybe they're deciding to travel to more nature places, places that are in the mountains, or places that are not in big city centers. Well, that might mean that where you live is becoming an up-and-coming place. We use this term up-and-coming to talk about somewhere that's not extremely popular but is becoming more popular. So you might say, yeah, my city isn't really popular right now, but it's an up-and-coming place. You've got to check it out. We can use this on a smaller scale, just like off the beaten path, to talk about a restaurant or a neighborhood. Used to not be a good neighborhood, but now it's an up-and-coming neighborhood. You've got to walk through it. Just look at the houses, look at the architecture, and enjoy the sights. So you might say it's an up-and-coming place. Excellent expression. Our final expression to talk about where you live is must see, or some must-see locations. Can you imagine what this means? Does it mean it's not important to see it? Nah, you can skip that. No, you must see this. For example, when you visit Egypt, the pyramids are a must-see. We can use it as a noun, a must-see. Of course, when you go to Egypt, the pyramids are a must-see. When you go to London, Big Ben is a must-see. When you go to New York City, the Empire State Building is a must-see. These are kind of like the top things that you need to see. But even if you don't live in one of those really popular cities, if you live somewhere a little bit off the beaten path, you can still use this expression. You might say, in my city, yeah, this view on the top of the mountains, yeah, that is a must-see. You drive up this hill, and you can have a great 360 view. That is a must-see. So it's something that you cannot miss when you visit that location. So when I visit your city, tell me, what are some places that are a must-see? I don't want to miss them. Next, let's talk about some common questions that you can ask other people about where they live. And also, other people will ask you about where you live. So make sure you're comfortable answering them about where you live. The first question is, where are you from? This is an extremely common question, and you can just say, yep, I'm from the U.S., but it's nice to give a little more detail. So you might say, I'm from Asheville in North Carolina. It's a pretty quiet place, but it's kind of up and coming. Great, you're giving some details. It's quiet, but it's also up and coming. I live in Asheville. You're inviting a conversation. If you just say, I'm from the U.S., or I'm from Asheville, that's where I'm from, someone might ask you, what's it like there? Or if someone doesn't give you more details about where they live, they just say, France, I live in London, I live in L.A. Okay, well, you might want some more details. You want to continue the conversation. This is a great question to ask. What's it like there? They might say, it's so hot in the summer, but in the fall, it's awesome because we get some great leaves and you've got to check it out in the fall. Excellent. If someone has not mentioned the weather yet, you can say, what's the weather like there? They can go into some details. You could say about your city. The winter is so cold. We get tons of snow, but when it melts in the spring and all of the leaves become green and the flowers bloom, it's awesome. You've got to visit in the spring. If you have not told someone what time to visit yet, they might ask, what's the best time to visit? So when Mark and I were planning a trip to Costa Rica a couple of years ago, we did a lot of research about what is the best time to visit Costa Rica. Their seasons are very different from our seasons, and we were going to be spending a lot of time outside. So we wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be raining the whole time, pouring down rain, or too hot the whole time. So we asked this question. When's the best time to visit? Someone might ask you, when's the best time to visit your city? For my city, I think the best time to visit is the fall. The leaves are beautiful in the mountains. There are so many different colors, and the air is so crisp and fresh. You've got to visit in the fall. If someone asked you, what's your city known for? What would you say? This means, what is your city famous for? Why do people visit your city? It might just be something simple like, the air is so fresh, or it might be, they just love this pastry, this type of dessert that's made in my city. And a lot of people like to come and eat that pastry. Cool. It could be something simple. Or, if you live in a bigger place, you can obviously talk about some famous destinations that your city is known for. But if people have not heard about your city, they might ask this question. Oh, what's it known for? What's your city known for? And then you can think about some great places to visit that people might be interested in. Whenever I ask someone about their city, especially if I'm going to visit, like your city, I like to ask about their personal favorite thing to do. So someone might ask you, what's your favorite thing to do in your city? Or what's your favorite thing to eat there? Or what's your favorite thing to see? Because I think that local people's perspectives are often different from a tourist's perspective. Finding out what the locals like to do, specifically what you like to do, can be really valuable, and can add to a rich visiting experience. So if I asked you, what's your favorite thing to do in your city? You might tell me, oh man, there is this little bar off the beaten path down this alley, and you've got to check it out. It's so cool. They brew their own beer, and the atmosphere is awesome. It is a must-see. Great. I bet that my trip to your city would be a lot more amazing because of that information. So make sure that you have some ideas that you can tell other people about your city. Our final question is a little more broad. Someone might simply ask you, what do you recommend? Or maybe, if you are talking to someone who lives in New York and you are about to visit New York, you can ask them some questions and say, what do you recommend? What do you recommend about New York? What do you recommend that I do? Oh, you've got to see this museum. It's really cool. They have local artists that they have on display and all these different things you can see. Great. You are asking, what do you recommend? In general. It might not be that person's absolute favorite thing personally, but to visit the city, what do you recommend? Great. A wonderful question to ask. What do you recommend? All right. Now that we've talked about some common vocabulary to describe your city, some common questions that you can ask or other people might ask you about where you live, let's see a quick sample conversation between me and my husband, Mark, where we talk about visiting Rome. Now, neither of us are from Rome, but I want you to use your imagination. Let's imagine that Mark is from Rome. He's actually from the U.S., but let's imagine that he's from Rome. And he is giving me some insider tips about what I should do on my upcoming trip to Rome. Let's watch the sample conversation and listen for some of the key vocabulary that we just talked about, because you are about to have a chance to use it yourself speaking with me. Let's watch. Hey, Mark. Mark. Hey, Lily. Are you excited for your trip to Rome? Lily. Yeah, I can't wait. It's such a historic place. But are there any tourist traps I should avoid? Mark. Yeah, avoid all the gelato shops except this one. It's off the beaten path, but trust me, it's worth it. Lily. Oh, thanks for the tip. Any other must-sees? Mark. Well, the Colosseum is great, but my favorite thing to do is wander around and see all the little chapels. It's usually more relaxed and less crowded that way. Lily. Ah, that's good to know. Thanks for the tip. Mark. No problem. Enjoy your trip. Lily. I will. All right, now it is your turn. I'm going to ask you some questions about where you live because I'm coming to visit. I need to know what it's like. I'm going to ask you some questions and then I will pause. I will be listening to you. Wherever you live around the world, I will be listening. So please speak out loud, use the expressions that you've learned, and I can't wait to learn more about your city. Are you ready to get started? Hi, I'm taking a vacation to your city and I can't wait. Tell me, what's the weather like in the summer? I need to know what I should pack. That's good to know, thank you. Well, what's your favorite thing to do or see in your city? Wow, that sounds really interesting. So I got to know, are there any tourist traps that I should avoid when I go? Thanks so much for the tip. I look forward to visiting. I can't wait to see you soon. Bye. All right. How did you do having this conversation with me? You're welcome to review that and say it again and again to practice and grow your confidence. Let's get started with some common expressions to talk about birthdays. Let's talk about some types of birthday parties. A birthday bash is a big party. Lots of people, lots of presents, lots of games. It's a big one. So you might say, "We are throwing a birthday bash for my niece because she's turning 10. Double digits. Quite exciting." To throw a party means to hold or organize it. So you might say, "We're throwing a party for my grandma's 90th birthday. It's going to be a big birthday bash." What if you're not a fan of birthday bashes and want to keep things more low-key? You might say a gathering or a get-together. This is something small and intimate. Just family, a few friends. Maybe you could say, "I'm not a fan of big birthday bashes, so we're just going to have a little gathering at my house." Or, "We're just going to have a little get-together at my house." This is true for me. Usually for my birthday, we just have a little get-together at my house with a couple of friends, maybe some family. Nothing too big. Surprise. Oh, what did I just do? I surprised you because it's a surprise party. Usually with a surprise party, the person who is having the birthday doesn't know about the party. This is the ideal situation. So someone is planning, inviting guests, setting up everything, and they try to get the birthday person to come into that area without knowing anything. Then they walk in, and everybody jumps up and says, "Surprise!" So I'm curious. Have you ever had a birthday for you? Have you ever helped to participate in a surprise birthday? I don't think that I ever have. But one time when I was in college, my friends threw a surprise birthday party for me and another friend who has the same birthday. I didn't want to go. I said, "I'm studying. I have a test. I can't go down there. I'm not going to go have dinner with you guys. No, I need to study." And then one of my friends finally realized that I wasn't coming, and she said, "Hey, Lily, it's a surprise birthday for you. Come on." So I had no choice at that point because I realized, oh, they're doing something nice for me. So you might say, "We're throwing a party for Allah. It's a surprise party. Don't tell her." Well, unless you can't get her to come. Next, let's talk about some common phrases that are just associated with birthdays. The first one is RSVP. Now, this is occasionally something that we use in spoken conversation, but it is more common on a written invitation. It could be a physical invitation, or it might be an internet invitation using Facebook events or something like this. But RSVP stands for the French Répondez s'il vous plaît, and it means please respond. Please tell me if you're coming. So usually you will see this sentence, RSVP by June 30th, or RSVP by Saturday, whatever date. So there's a deadline. Please tell me if you're coming so that I can order the right amount of cake, so that I can make the right amount of food. This is just a polite thing to do, to RSVP. Wonderful. Another common phrase for birthdays or for parties is BYOB. What if I said, dinner and cake are provided? Bring your own bottle. What would that mean to you? Bring your old bag? Bring your old balloon? Number this means bring your own beer or bring your own booze. Booze is a slang term for alcohol. So this means I am not providing alcohol. If you want to drink alcohol, bring what you want to drink. Bring it for yourself. This is very common, and it's not really rude.